Hey Kathryn, it is a very cool evening in May. It's been raining, it's kind of cloudy, but I thought I'd use this opportunity to talk to you about pruning and the importance of pruning in a landscape such as this. I want to show you some examples of trees that have been pruned pretty regularly over the last 10 years or so. Let me show you this pine. Right here we have a pine, I believe it's a white pine, that has been pruned every year, really once a year, to maintain this shape. Basically it's not a bonsai, but it's been pruned to have these different levels, the top, that one there, that one there, that one there, and it's a fairly structured tree. But basically the pruning consists of taking shears or electric cutters and cutting the candles into short candles. You see these ones right here. Those candles were cut last year. These longer candles right here need to be cut. And I've basically eliminated any downward growth, which is a principle that's used in bonsai. But it's created this very structured tree right here. Let me show you another example that's not quite so structured. This pine tree is another one that I do the exact same thing to, and I've maintained it as a tree that is about 9 feet tall. If I had not shaped that tree like this, it would have completely outgrown that area there. But because once a year I go in there and I create that very tight cylindrical and domed shape, it maintains its shape. Here's another example right here. The candles on this one, it might be a slightly different variety. The candles on this pine tree are very long, as you can see on top, but I'm going to come along with the electric cutter or the hand shears, and I'm going to trim those candles down just to keep that very tight. Let me show you another example over here. Actually, there's one right there too that I've done the same thing to, and another one right over here. Now the reason I'm showing you these is because I'm about to show you an example of a tree that is the exact same variety of pine tree that has had no treatment at all. Basically it was planted and it was left, and I will show you what happens when you do that. So right here we have another example of a white pine. I've trimmed some of the bottom branches because they became very wide in this area here. But if you look at this tree, it is absolutely huge. That is the exact same tree, but the main difference is that every year I was pruning the other ones very simply, and this one here has been left to grow. So what's going to happen in the next 10 years is that that tree will completely thin out down here. There'll be absolutely nothing of any substance in this area here. And it's going to grow into an extremely tall tree, which is going to resemble one that I'm going to show you in just a moment. So the last pine tree I showed you has been growing for about 12 years unchecked. The pine tree that I'm showing you now is an original tree to the property. This was here long before our house was built, and it's right there in the middle of the picture. You can see the phone box there, which is about 8 foot tall. This pine tree is about maybe 50 foot tall, and all the growth is up top. There is nothing down low, so it provides nothing in the way of screening from our neighbors. And it shows you what happens. So by pruning these things every year, just like with bonsai, you can keep them compact, you can force back budding, and they'll stay in proportion to the house that they're in front of. Whereas if they're left unchecked, this is what you're going to end up with. And the only thing that you can do with that, if it's 3, 5, 6 feet in front of your house, is just cut it down. So this tree shrub right here is standing at about 20, 25 foot tall, and that is a magnolia. It has a white flower. It comes out very early in the spring. You can see it's narrow in the bottom. That's really because I've been cutting it in the bottom, because because I have my dahlias growing here. That tree has not been cut in quite a number of years, but let me show you an example of the same tree that I basically cut back very harshly a year ago. That's it right there. Now it looks quite dramatically different, but it's alive, it's thriving, it's doing well. It's got new buds coming here, so this tree is looking pretty healthy. I'm going to show you a couple of other examples of that same tree and just why it's important, depending on your intention, depending on what you're looking for out of a tree. But in my case, it's important that we routinely cut these back like this. Let me show you some other examples. So I'm back in the front yard and I'm showing you two examples of the exact same magnolia. This one was cut back pretty aggressively about 2 years ago. This one I think was done about the same time. But let me show you one that was done a year ago. I cut it back extremely harshly, and this is it right here. So that tree and these ones were planted at the exact same time. This one was cut back very hard. See how compact that is? That's now at about 4 to 5 foot tall. And these ones are probably at about 12 foot tall right now. So at some point in the near future, I'm going to be doing what I did to this one, to these ones, because left to their own devices, they're going to grow so out of size for the area that they're in. And what's going to happen is a lot of their growth is going to end up high up and not low down, which means that we're going to be able to look straight through them to the neighbor's house. And the whole purpose of a lot of these trees is to create a low, varied barrier to our neighbors. So it has interest, it has structure, but it doesn't become so top heavy that you can just see through it. This tree right here is an arborvitae. An arborvitae, you can see that the lower area is narrower than the top. That is deer damage. We have a lot of deer in the area and they love these arborvitae, and that thinness down at the bottom there is a result of deer attacking that plant. So in another video coming up in the near future, Kathryn, I will talk to you about when to prune and how to prune. A lot of these things, it's simply just a case of cutting them very crudely into whatever shape you want them to be. But there are a few tricks with a few trees that you need to be aware of. So we'll talk about that in a future video.